Welcome, everyone. This is episode 26, and I've titled it Clean Out Your Closet of Regrets. Well, letting go of regrets is hard. It's really hard. I struggle with letting go of regrets myself, and honestly, it takes hard work. But if you do it, the benefits are life shifting. A couple of reasons why we sometimes can't let go of what could have been or wish had been. So, first, those thoughts are familiar, and we are comfortable with whatever is familiar, even if it's super disempowering. And second, maybe much more important, is that if a regret just keeps coming up, there's usually some sort of deeper, unresolved issue that's causing you to not be able to let go of it. Your task is to figure out what that is. And maybe, just maybe, you haven't given yourself the time that you need to grieve the career you didn't get, the job you didn't go for, the relationship you have lost. But bringing awareness to what is underneath the regret really, that regret that won't go away is exactly what you need to help you to clear that regret out of your soul's closet. So let me give you an example. I'm obviously a woman of a certain age, and frankly, if I let myself, I could feel weighed down by all my regrets. I regret staying married as long as I did. I regret leaving the investment world. I regret moving back to Minnesota. I regret relinquishing my son. And the biggie, all encompassing, I regret loving so dang much. But hanging on to regrets can fill up all the spaces in my head and heart, and ultimately in my life. It's like having a super full closet that you can't stuff in one more pair of shoes or one more dress. Therefore, I've learned I have to let them go, or else I won't have the space for what it is I'm trying to create. I see this happen over and over with so many of my clients, and maybe you can relate. You feel like you're making progress, and then for no reason at all, that regret popped up, back up, and you find yourself drawn into the familiar of not letting go and almost obsessing over what could have been. Those thoughts around the regret really take up your free time, the space in the day when you pause to think about whether or not your dreams will ever come true. Imagine, imagine that it's the closet of the soul and you have to make space for your dreams, or you won't have that extra added space that you need to work on them. Well, there's something really interesting, I found really interesting around regrets. And it shows that we seem to be able to let go of the mistakes we've made much faster than a regret of what we didn't do. Crazy, isn't it? The opportunity, the relationship, the job we didn't take or didn't go for are the hardest to let go of. It seems that we can accept that we make mistakes, and yet we will hold on to what could have been, maybe forever. If you notice from some of my own personal examples, you can see that each of the regrets I have to continually work hard to let go of are all focused on what could have been or what I wished had been. If I had left my marriage earlier, I could have found a loving partner. If I had not moved back to Minneapolis, I wouldn't be in this situation of feeling stuck and wanting to flee. And then I assume I'd be feeling happier and my business would have grown much faster if I had stayed in Boston. The list goes on, but in every single example, what I'm holding on to is what could have been or what I wished had been. So let's talk about those could have beens. First, I always say there's no crystal ball. that could show us exactly what would have happened if we had taken a different path in our lives. The catch is, we think it would have been much, much better. Yet we're human, and therefore, whatever path we take, things happen, both good and bad. Second, fantasizing about what could have been doesn't serve you. In fact, it's self sabotaging. Those fantasies or wishes or could have beens are all about comparing your current life to some sort of a fantasy life or the life you wish you had had. Now, you consciously know you're comparing your life to something, maybe as unrealistic as a great movie or a book of fiction. It's truly not fair. You know that. Plus, what we sometimes forget, and that's what I want to remind you of, is that comparisons are really killers of your self-esteem and your confidence. And that is especially true when we are comparing ourselves to some idealized, unreal life. And yet we do it. So, when I began to think about my move back to Minneapolis, both my daughter and my son were going through relationship losses. That's what triggered this desire to move back. So, my move was an emotional decision that was really truly based in love. But there was more. And this is what was really important. I was drawn to a vision I had in my heart. I was going to create a home where my kids and my grandkids would come and go. Holidays were going to be filled with family around my table, and I'd have a best friend relationship with my long estranged sister. Now, I can see that these wishes and that vision were at their core coming from losses that I've experienced in my life and honestly hadn't completely accepted. And that is exactly why, when things didn't work out like my unrealistic vision, Minneapolis had suddenly become this huge regret in my life that was much, much bigger than a relocation. So, figuring out why you have remained so attached to what could have been is important because you're never going to be able to find the benefits of the path you did take without gaining that understanding of what it was that you really hold, or what it is that you're really holding on to that's at the core of that regret. So, what happened to my regret? Well, it was only when I uncovered why I had really made the move that I could see all kinds of wonderful benefits. My daughter fell in love. She married a great guy and subsequently moved 60 miles away from me. Now, my son, he met a fabulous woman, and they have merged their two families, which now totals 6 kids. But my children and my grandchildren are super, super busy, have little time for me, but, and this is what's so important, they are all happy. And that is exactly what a mother wants for her children. So it's important, though, for me to see that it was only when I was able to uncover the underlying wishes I had for this crazy move that I could see my Minneapolis move was actually wonderful. Why? Because I was there for both my kids when they needed me. In their hearts, they already knew that I loved them. But because I picked up my life and moved to Minneapolis, it really told them that my love for them was unquestionable. And because both of them have found loving partners with whom they are sharing their very busy lives, I can now return to my adopted hometown of Boston, as well as my other life in Paris. So, ladies, your task this week is to pull out your journal and write down your biggest life regrets. Just list them out and then let yourself get really quiet. Ask yourself, what are the deeper issues that are wrapped up in that wish or that could have been life? Is there something you haven't totally let yourself mourn or even grieve over? Maybe it's the ending of a relationship, a career path, dream of a family. What's important is for you to see and to feel what it is. Now, if there's any residual anger or sadness, that's usually your clue that there is something in there that you need to acknowledge and mourn. It's only when you do that that you can finally take that regret out of your soul's closet and make room for your dreams. For me, it was family loss. And yet, when I look at the past 2 years, I see many versions of the creation of family, not only with my daughter and my son, but I reconnected with my best college friends under this guise that we had a book club. And once a month, we sit around a table, eating, sharing, talking, all about our lives, our wishes, and our dreams. These women and many others are my family. So if I had chosen to hold on to what could have been, then I would have kept myself from creating all these wonderful new happenings in my life. I wouldn't have sold my home and scheduled my move back to Boston. I wouldn't have created courses for women like you. And I certainly would not have made my big event happen, which is the launch of my magazine, Be the Real You. Now, being the real you means that you honor yourself. You take care of yourself, regardless of those pressure filled shoulds that are around you. Once you uncover what is keeping you attached to a wish and a subsequent regret, I promise you, you will have so much more space inside of you. Lots and lots of room for you to get started on your dreams and create that big life that you desire. So, ladies, I invite you to clean out your closet. Now, I mentioned I have news that I wanted to share with you. I alluded to the magazine, but on April 1st, which is just a few weeks from now, my digital magazine, Be the Real You, is going live. I can't tell you how excited I am. This magazine is for women who are ready to step into their big dreams. But to do that, you have to be true, you have to be authentic, you have to be the real you. That's the only way you can get that big life that you deserve. So the articles in the magazine are going to range from interviews with successful women business owners. There'll be some mindset tips and conversations on topics like honoring and valuing your time, or ways to override any self-confidence and self-esteem issues that truly often get in our way as women. And there will also be some fun ways that we as women can embrace joy and truly be the stars in our own life. Well, this has been in the works for a while, but here I am announcing it. I'm so excited. Can you tell? I call it our Women's Authenticity Movement because it really is about you being who you truly are, deciding what it is that you really want in this lifetime, and then going out and doing it. Now, someone asked me if it's just for business women, and not at all. Though creating and running your own business is a focal point, it's for all women who are ready to be and live as their real and true selves. So go to sherryharmel.com and subscribe. Let's make this women's authenticity movement huge. So thank you for joining me on this journey, and I hope you found this podcast topic beneficial. Go subscribe to the magazine, join our Facebook group, and I'll see you soon. A bientôt.